everybody. It's 10:34 a.m. and welcome to Open Forum today. We're going to talk about those scammers out there. We're going to start with. You guys have any good scamming stories? And I'll tell you some that we have here. Tell us something you got going on. Did you guys, somebody try to scam you, or did you scam somebody? Let's hear it.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey,
Mohammed, how are you?
doing good. How are you?
Wonderful.
Actually, I just discovered this morning after reading your email, I had received an email from a guy asked me to list a lot. And then after that, I send him the commission, everything. He agreed right away and all the stuff. And then I get everything ready. And then all of a second, I was just like, I really don't feel comfortable. This was like 3 days ago. So I sent him an email, ask him if he can share the title company he had used so I can give him a credit from the title insurance. And since I sent him that email, he's gone. Never get back with me. And I just have not put that listing live after I get the listing agreement, everything ready.
Yeah, guys, this is a really easy and pretty good scam. And unfortunately, I mean, they can have 50 of these going at once, 100 of these going at once. All they do is contact any random realtor in any area where there's vacant lots. I mean, it's not hard to do. The property appraiser gives you all the information that you need. If you find somebody who, well, I don't even know that they go through all this. I think they just throw a million of them out there and see what sticks. But I mean, I think if I ran this scam, I could probably do it on the first try if I put my mind on it. You know, of course, I'm going to work that hard. That's something I just go ahead and make an honest living. But most people don't. So you find a piece of vacant land and you find an owner that lives far away, and
that's what I want to say.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but the seller was from Canada. When you go to the relist, the guy's address in Canada, and the email I get the email from, he had it first name and last name matching the same first name and last name on the relist. So everything was super, looked good, except the only thing is I don't get phone number at all. And then when I found an easy transaction, that's where actually I got a little bit worried about it. So until this morning, I just put it off. I haven't even listed yet, but I just confirm it from that email is definitely a scam. So very good.
Well, okay. So we're going to talk about a little bit later. Tell us, we'll hit on that a little bit later about the vacant lots. Who else has a story of where they scammed somebody or got scammed? I'm just kidding about it. If you scam somebody, Tammy, I don't want to hear that.
I know. I'm such a terrible person. Yeah. No, I think I said it before that I got scammed with, it was fairly intricate. And I actually had photos taken. It was a beautiful home in Champions Gate, like, I don't know, 7 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. I had photos done. I actually had it, I think I had it listed, if I remember correctly. And then the actual owner called me and I was like mortified. And again, he did everything. And I even was curious. So I did some checking, and even the other person that I checked with kind of goofed up as well. So, and then the owner called me and I felt terrible. And I thought, I hope I'm not going to be sued. So I took it down immediately, and it actually went to the title company. Yeah, I had a contract. Oh, and I had to pay back the people that went under contract. They had spent like $700 on a home inspection, and I had to pay them back. And so, yeah, it was a scam, but luckily they backed out and didn't give me a hard time. And I paid them the money to maybe pass off, avoid a lawsuit.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys have certain things we passed out today, like best practices stuff. You guys only have so much liability here as agents, but this is to save you guys time. I mean, these things fall apart at closing a lot of times. Once in a while they go through. But I want to talk a few things. Typically these people aren't in the US. Because if you're here in the US and you get caught doing this, they will crush you. The FBI will get you. They make a big deal about this for obvious reasons. This is serious theft. the second thing is why vacant land? Vacant land for the same reason. I mean, why would I do a bunch of $50,000, $100,000 lots if I could do a $750,000 house like what Tammy was talking about? And the reason is exactly part of why that got busted. People who own vacant land are not, they know there's nobody living there. They know there's no tenants there. They know, so you're not creating a scene by showing the lot. You're not, you know what I mean? It's just, and most people, if they live out of town, they're never going to drive by there or whatever. Typically, they won't want a for sale sign. They won't want anything like that. They don't want to attract attention to the fact that it's for sale other than the MLS because they want to offer. And they'll typically take the first offer they get, the first thing that's even reasonable. In fact, they don't even really care if it's reasonable, probably. So if you get one of these people, how every listing you put on now, you get, if you put it on for 300, you get a 180 offer on the first day. If someone ever takes one of those, then they're a scammer, because they're just trying to rush the deal through so they don't get caught. A lot of times they've been caught they just disappear at closing. Some of them, and Canada is a common country for them to be from, or at least to say that they're from, to say where they're living. We had another agent have one at closing, and their client, another seller, right, and their client said they were out of the country. They were out, and they said, well, we can send you the paperwork anywhere. We can send a mobile code. Oh, no. Then just disappeared. After everything, they just disappeared. They were obviously scammers. So there's a lot of that going on out there. They're forging notarization. That's how they're actually getting through at some time. In some places they say, I'll just go to my local barrister, and then they send a bunch of notarized things. So one of the things, anybody else have a story out there before we talk about best practices? Anybody else have a story where they got scammed or almost got scammed?
I did one time, this was years ago. I had a guy from somewhere overseas wanting to buy a brand new house sight unseen. And he was like, yeah, that's okay, I'll do it. Well, I called the new home builder, and she goes, yeah, I've had 9 realtors call me with his name. I don't know what the guy was thinking, but it was, luckily, Tammy, you did the right thing. You made it good for the buyers. That's awesome. Good ethics there. But what I do now is, if I get a phone call about selling something, the first thing I do is go to the tax record and see who owns it.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, because I did all that too. If they say they're their name, and I even called the guy's accountant, but I had the listing, but I made it right for the buyers just because that's what I had to do. But the listing agent, he had an agent that he had worked with previously, and she had a listing agreement, and they were holding off on actually listing it. And I think that's how she may have noticed it and called him and said, hey, I see your house is listed. And then that's when he called me and said, you've got my house listed. So I felt terrible.
Well, if they use the owner's name, you can't get around that. But if I don't have a phone number and an email and I check the tax record, I just don't bother. Ryan's right. Meet them in person or do a Zoom call. Everybody does Zoom these days. So.
Yeah, there's no excuse. And I don't care if you're on a dating site or you're being a listing agent. If somebody can't show you their face, they're catfishing you. So there's no, my camera is broken. Oh, speaking of that, I got one of the cameras. I borrowed it from the office. It's about a $25 camera, and it sits on top of my other camera that doesn't work. I didn't have to buy a new computer yet. So I put that off. That's why my camera's working today. So, but to illustrate that, a $25 camera works perfectly fine. There's Lauren. A $25 camera works perfectly fine. So you can, there's no excuse for them not showing up. So what I want you guys to do also is blame things on your broker or your title company. You've got to verify their identification. Send me a copy of your driver's license, passport, and they can fake passport. They could, when you're scanning it to someone, they're not actually, you're not actually looking at their passport. Not that you would know what to anyway, but even a Border Patrol agent wouldn't know if you sent them a picture of a passport if it was fake, because they don't have the watermark activity and all that stuff to look at. But at least ask them to go through that trouble. And so now they've got to make one that does that. So we're going to need to, your broker is going to need to see this, and your title company needs to see that. Use that kind of stuff, and then send it to the title company to verify, right? Just so you have backup if anything ever goes south. You guys know, and guys, we've had perfectly good people too. So I will tell you about the story that I was involved in. A guy from Africa called to sell his condo, and it was worth about $180,000 or something. This is, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And so I went to put it on the market for him, and it was already on the market. So I told him that, and he said, no, it's not. And it was worth 180, and it was on the market for like 155 or something, right? And it was pending. And I said, you've already taken a contract on it. No, I have not. So I looked this guy up on his, so I called the listing agent that was on the MLS, and we went back and forth. She thought it was for sure the right guy. She had seen a picture of his passport. She said, I thought it, something was funny. So I got a picture of his passport, and she sent me a picture of his passport. And this guy, anyway, he had it listed for 155, and he took his first offer at 145 or something like that, right? So he was already he was going to close quickly, everything else. Well, my guy, I looked him up he was a professor, or said he was a professor. So I looked him up on LinkedIn, and I messaged him on there. And he wrote me back, what, you didn't believe me? Blah, blah, blah. Right? So it really was him. I had the right guy, and I told the listing agent, and she said, she asked the other guy for some more information, and he disappeared. So the other guy was a scammer, and my guy just happened to want to sell his property during the time his property was for sale. He had no idea. When I told him his place was already for sale, he had no idea. And my guy was a real guy, and it ended up going through at 180 with a different buyer. Obviously, she had to tell the buyer, sorry, you were scammed. We were all scammed. So anyway, that's my story. But I contacted the guy through LinkedIn because he told me he was a professor and, all this stuff, and he really was. And I did have him send me all of his real passport. So we had 2 passports with the same picture with a different passport number of the guy. So it's pretty funny. But you just got to be diligent in that kind of stuff. There are all kinds of ways, like you just said, FaceTime or Zoom or something you can with these people, and make sure that you're talking to the real person. Although you don't know what they look like, so it doesn't really do you that much good. But the more steps that they'll go through and show their face, they're not going to show their face, especially if you say you're recording it. They're not going to show their face on there. Okay. We've had several go through. I may have told you guys before, I've been interviewed by the FBI one time. And that one time was because one of our agents was involved in a scam stealing a house. They weren't involved. They were a party to it, but not the scammer. But someone stole a house, and they were on the buyer side, but someone had listed this and done it and forged the documents and everything. So this kind of stuff happens out there, and people, this was a $250,000 house or something, but someone who didn't own it sold it, got it wired to them, and they are in the wind. It's a pretty good scam. I wouldn't recommend you guys do it. If you live here in the States, they catch you, they'll bury you under the jail. But if you're in another country and they can't reach you, then I guess it's a pretty good scam. So you guys are at risk here of being wasting your time and money and everything else, like Tammy did, through no fault of her own. So you guys know what clients are like. They're not usually super agreeable. They're not usually jump on the first price you give them. They don't normally jump on the first contract you give them if it's under what they want all their money for the thing because they paid for it. Well, these people that didn't pay for it, they don't care, right? So, I mean, if you've got a new Porsche out there, I'll sell it for $5,000 if you let me, So that's scam. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but anyway, you guys, what else is going on with you guys? We got a lot of interesting stuff too today from, we're going to talk about the market here a little bit. You guys have anything else on scams? Any questions on that stuff?
So Clarence here.
Yes, sir.
So I deal mostly with land, and yes, it can be a process. I had an incident here this past year where I thought I had sold somebody's property wrongly, I guess you could say. So I get this call out of the blue. Uh-oh, that $25 camera's messing up on you.
It's my computer. See, it's not my camera.
Right. Anyway, I got a call from a lady out of the blue asking me about a property that I had sold a couple years previous. And I said, yes, I did sell that. She said, how did you sell my property? I'm like, what do you mean, how did I sell your property? Anyway, so very quickly I went into panic mode, like, oh, hell, I've sold somebody's property. and without them knowing it. But I felt pretty confident in what I had as the real owner. As it turns out, and this is a common problem with vacant land, is that there's no street address. There's, you know, zero numbers or no numbers or not assigned. I mean, different things that pop up on the records for that, but usually just have a street address. Well, as it turns out, the information was still, well, let me back up. She had received the property from her parents that had recently passed away. She didn't even know they had it. She was out of state. And going through the documents, that found this paperwork on this property that they'd owned. And she went online to Zillow, of course, to try to find out how much it cost to try to sell it. And then she saw that it had been listed and sold a couple years previous. But what she looked at only was the address description. And so my property was still showing in Zillow 2 years later as being available, I guess, or sold. Anyway, we got to compare the partial ID numbers and found out that we were talking about two different partials in the same area. And so I did not sell her property out from under, and she was okay with that finally. But for a little bit, I was in a panic mode. But that's a common problem with vacant land. But if the due diligence part of it is just, I mean, all you can do is the best you can do. I mean, I try to get copies of driver's license and things such as that, but try to verify as much as I can when I'm dealing with individuals. And I think that's all we can do.
Yeah, guys, we're talking about thousands and tens and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. If they won't jump through a hoop to send you pictures of their driver's license or their passport or something like that, then they're probably scamming. You know, and just like I said, blame it on your broker, blame it on the title company, blame it on whatever, but blame it on an uptick in scam activity, you know, and that will, and you let them know that you're on your guard. A normal person wouldn't be scared by that. A normal person will appreciate that, you know.
Yeah, I'm dealing with one of those issues right now where I have two people that own a property, two separate entities. One's an individual, one's a corporation. They're in partnership on a piece of property. And the individual seems to be forthcoming and willing to work for the listing, but the other party is being hard to get to, if you will. And just the other day, I received a comment from the one that's been communicating with me saying that he'd received approval from the other party to sign for him. So again, red flag pops up. Okay, do you have any type of legal document that authorizes you to sell? To sign for this individual in the process of selling this property? Well, no. Okay. So anyway, so I'm doing my due diligence going through this process to make sure that I've got valid owners before I do a listing. But, you know, I'm right in the middle of one of those issues right now.
Yeah, it's if they will jump if they're legitimate owners, and they will cooperate, and you know, it's serious money for them. Let's if there's nothing else on the scams, let's move on to the market, and let's talk. Yes, Wayne, you have a scam.
No, I have a quick question. So if you on the buyer side of the listing, do you practice of, you know, getting confirmation? I mean, of IDs or anything like that, if you're on the buyer side and you're not on the listing side?
It's not bad practice to do, but it's hard to.
Okay.
I mean, where are they going to scam a buyer? I mean, they've got to come up with money at some point. They're not typically.
Yeah.
Scam.
No, I'm just saying, like when Tammy was describing, she was on the listing side. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just looking at it from the buyer standpoint. They're buying, you know, they went through the process, they bought the home, well, they were trying to buy the home, then they would, you know, spent money on the inspection. And was there anything on the buyer's agent side that could have prevented that at all, or it's just one of those things?
There's typically not a scam with buying. Be careful if anybody wants to send you deposit money and have you put it in and send them the change or something like that, then that's a scam. But otherwise, typically there's not much to scam with buying, because you're the one who's going.
Well, unless the buyer's buying a scammed listing.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying.
That's what she means. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's no way as a buyer to know that you're buying a scammed listing, really.
No, you certainly can't ask for the seller's identification or anything like that if you're not.
That's what I was asking. Okay.
No,
okay.
No, it's just that's why we try to cut down on this stuff. It wastes everybody's time and money.
Okay.
Okay, guys, let's go to the market. Let's talk about that. I'm going to share screen here. You guys got this email from Florida Realtors this morning. It says, well, I forget what it said on there, but high number of buyers still moving state to state. Local traffic fell about 15%, but well, state to state dropped 3.6 year to year. Part of that is not as many people moved from COVID. And what you're going to see here is the numbers kind of correspond with when COVID started and stuff like that. But what happened with COVID is, and a lot of people didn't move right away because it was dangerous everywhere and we're all scared we were going to die no matter where we went. But what happened was a lot more people started working from home. And if you can work from home, you can work from anywhere. People have figured out, unless they're working from home 3 days a week or whatever it is. But typically they figure out if they can work from home, they can work from anywhere. So they moved out of, they were in San Francisco and New York with these very high paying jobs because it takes that to live up there. So people paying that, they're paying, $200,000 a year for what we get paid 80 or 100 down here for. So they took that same money they were making and moved to Florida where they can live on half as much. And it was like they got a double raise. So buyers moving to a new retro. Top 10 go-to metro areas. Miami, we have, we cover 4, 5 in the top 10 here in Florida, and at FRI, we have access to 5 of the top 10. And a lot of them move to Florida, obviously, for cost of living purposes, whatever other purposes they have. Top 10 move out, but of course, the weather's pretty nice. Top 10 move out metro areas. You'll see on here, it is all the ones that you would think it would be. The most expensive cities where the highest paying jobs are, and they wanted to get out and get to also the highest crime areas too, but they wanted to get to better climate where their money will go twice as far. See, popularity is determined by net inflow. The typical home and popular go-to destinations is less expensive than a typical home they want to leave behind. The typical Miami home sold for $485 in February, for example, compared with $640 in New York, the most common origin for its incoming buyers. We could have guessed that. Anybody who's been to Miami knows most people are from New York. But the, hold on one second, because that's annoying me too. All right. So the inflow of Florida, we don't have as much around town movement here in Orlando, Tampa, Miami. You're not getting as much around town movement. We're down 15% in moving across town, but we're up a lot, and we're still up a lot in people moving into the area. We still have this excess demand for purchase from people who are not from here, as you guys know. And I think you guys are seeing that. Is that what you guys are seeing when you look at, I'm gonna take this off the screen now. So look at those top 10 go-to metro areas. We're very fortunate that this is keeping us artificially ahead of the market compared to the rest of the country. You guys see that? Do you see what I mean by that? We are artificial because of where we are, because we are a destination. We are staying ahead of the rest of the country who is really feeling the squash of high interest rates. We're not feeling it quite as badly. And of course, if people have to move, or if they're moving from San Francisco to Tampa, and they're going to cost them half as much to live, they don't really care about a couple points on their mortgage, right? They don't care about a couple $100 a month on their mortgage. They care about that they're still making 200 grand a year and they can live in a fancy house in Tampa instead of the not so fancy house in San Francisco that they were living in. So what do you guys think about that? Is that what you guys are seeing? Are you seeing a lot of out of town buyers, people wanting to move to Florida, or are you getting a lot of, well, so what you guys are going to see, those of you who have been in the business a while and you're getting a lot of repeat business, obviously those are going to be a lot of local people moving in town. If you're getting your leads some other way, then it's going to be a lot of out of towners, more so than the people who are working off referrals mostly, or if you're not marketing at all. Other than referrals, you're going to see a bunch of in-towners because it's people you've worked with before, but they will send you their relatives who are coming to town or whatever. Okay, Dwayna, you have your hand up very politely.
Yeah, I was just going to say, cash is king. I've been seeing a lot of cash offers, outbidding the offers that I have been sending in. That's and Pat can speak to that. I don't know if Pat is on here, but there's a lot of cash offers from out of towners. They are a lot of them. Like one showing that I did about 3 weeks ago. I had my potential buyer, and then I had an out of towner came from, I believe they were, I want to say Illinois, and before the end of the day, the cash offer was there and accepted. It was just that quick. So,
yeah. What do you guys, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Dallas, Houston, all the Florida cities, what do they all have in common? Yes, Angie knows. It's hot. She says it's hot. I think that's what she said. It's what she should have said. I think that's what she said. Zero. Oh, sunshine. Sunshine. Yes. Great weather. Absolutely. So people want to go where there's great weather. They want to go where they're not paying. It's half the price. So the reason there's so much cash, Dwayne, to get to that point, the reason there's so much cash is because the people who live in, I'm going to go down the list again, San Fran, New York, Los Angeles, DC, Chicago, Boston, these people make a lot more money than we do for the same job because of the cost of living there. And everything's more expensive there. And these brownstones that you guys would just call townhouses, they pay $2.2 million for. And so they bought that for 1.3 million 10 years ago, and they sold it for 2.2 million, and they got plenty of money, cash, to buy a house in Florida without touching the rest of their money, right? So that's the kind of stuff that goes on. And so yes, a lot of cash from out of town. That's how it's going to work. We have great weather and we have low cost of living for now. It keeps going up, but it's going up there too. I mean, it's going up everywhere. Any other, but they have driven it, as you guys know. If you guys saw over the last, since COVID started, and it was such a curse, and for like 3 months we couldn't sell anything, and then prices just went through the roof as all this other money for the next 2 years, as all this other money wanted to come to town. Any other questions? Whether I remember when they were selling these brownstones for $1 in Brooklyn Nights. All right, $1. Okay, $1. All right. Any other questions or comments? What do you guys think about this market? A buyers nationwide seeking a home. 1 in 4 look to relocate to a new metro in February. So 1 in 4 were looking to get out of town. A year earlier, it was 22% instead of 25%. Before the pandemic, it was roughly 18%. So that 7% change is because of the pandemic. But mostly because people realized they could work from home during the pandemic, or they changed careers altogether. So just something to think about. But that's 7% of a lot. That 7% times, millions of people is a lot of people. And that's a lot of money for buying real estate, a lot of commission. Any other questions? You guys, I saw some of you guys get your photos taken at our free headshots event. That is going to be in Tampa on Tuesday. Tampa on Tuesday. Angie, you'll be there. Everybody get out to Tampa on Tuesday. Our office at 324 North Dale Mabry. I will send out another reminder, I'm sure. But you guys were great. You guys kept that guy busy. He was there until after 12 o'clock. You guys had a great flow. Everybody came in and out. It was really good. Those of you who participated, I know you enjoyed it, and it was quick and it was over. I will be sending out the guy's stuff to promote him too. He's a great guy, great photos. If you guys met him, he was a really nice guy. Both of them were. And he does all he asks is that he's not going to try to sell you a package of pictures or anything. All he asks is that you give him a shot with your next listing. And he gives you 20% off, I think, on that. So, and he's already the same price as everybody else, I think. But they do really good work. He's got a website. Those of you who came by, they've got a website to check it out. Any other questions or comments? This has been a quick one, but I think we've covered a lot. Who has something to ask or talk about?
Good morning, Ryan. Paul Hook.
Hey, Paul.
I heard that there's a process in Seminole County where I live that you can register your home with the county so that if anybody tries to sell your home, you're notified. That might be helpful into this process of people scamming homes.
Isn't that title lock insurance that I've always wondered if that's even necessary? I don't know.
Well,
No,
okay, so
from the county.
it's not if you live in the house, obviously, right? Nobody's going to sell your house if you live in it, but they can go and get a second mortgage or do something like that theoretically without you knowing. So that's what title lock is for. Title lock isn't for exactly what we're talking about, this kind of scam. Title lock is where you go to sell your house and you realize you got a second mortgage, or they'll come and knock on your door and kick you out. It's kind of far-fetched for me to believe that on a first residence, but it has happened before. I mean, everything's happened, right? So title lock is something like that, but he's saying, in which they should do, is that Seminole County offers that as a service to, I don't know, drop a letter in the mail if somebody's pulling title on your house or something. I don't know exactly how that works, Paul. I haven't heard of it, but I can believe it because it's enough of a headache for them. Probably they've probably been involved in lawsuits for this somehow. The county probably has. So, or they're just trying to help because they're being proactive about it as a service. Paul,
Yeah, you have to register for it.
You have to register for it, but still, it's a service. And I mean, somebody's got to be in charge of that. They've got to hire somebody to do it. So if they do that, that's great. And you should look into it because it won't hurt you. Lizette, the blockchain technology, it limits title fraud and wire fraud. There you go. You guys be very careful of wire fraud as well. Let's remind your buyers, don't just put it on the bottom of your email, actually remind them not to talk to anybody about their wire information except for the title company. Call the title company, get it, don't take it from an email. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. I wanted to piggyback off of I think we talked about this again, about leads, to get some of the, I guess the out of town traffic. Is anyone doing anything different? I know you talked about the two lead generations that we have here in the office. I just was posing that question. Is anybody else seeing success with those or any other avenue?
So I think what she's asking is, some of you guys are buying leads or using website technology, Spider, something out there to grab leads. What are you guys doing, and is it working? What are you guys using? Are you whether you're using Boomtown or Sync and that kind of stuff? I know people are and successful, yeah. But I don't know. I'll get some answers for that from you and get back to you.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Hi, Ryan. This is Lisa. I have a question. You know, I was always afraid to ask if the buyer is foreign if they're buying the house. Like right now, I have a sale, and it's actually supposed to be closing today. Right at the moment, the buyer's supposed to be at the title company. But I never knew if the buyer was foreign or not, and I didn't know if it was okay to ask. Is there, like, if they're foreign, is there some kind of extra document that should be included with the contract?
No, and you don't need to ask them if they're foreign. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So that's for sellers if they're non-U.S. citizens for FERPTA. That's their problem when they sell. You'll need to know that when they sell if they're a U.S. citizen or non-U.S. citizen.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Well, if you're just curious, then take them out for a cup of coffee and ask them if they're foreign. but it's not real estate related.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, it's the buyers. They're not my buyers.
Oh, the other people's buyers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that then either. So you're just going to have to stay curious about it.
Okay.
All right.
You know, this transaction's been really crazy because the mortgage broker, he hasn't really been communicating well with the title company, which is really crazy, I think. And I don't know. Is there a way
Pretty
you can
common.
find out how long the mortgage broker has been in business? I mean, I guess you can go on DBPR, right?
I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's pretty common for the mortgage broker not to be very keeping everybody up to date. Usually it's because they don't have good news. It's all their personality types, but usually it's because they don't have good news. And some people, as you know, people in your regular life that will avoid you if they have bad news for you or they don't have any good news for you. And mortgage brokers are no different. If they don't want to have to explain, you know, what's going on or who dropped the ball, or if they already told you it's an underwriting and it's still an underwriting, they don't want to tell you again. There are for a million reasons why mortgage brokers do not correspond with you or the title company like they're supposed to.
Okay.
And really, what are you going to do? Do you want the deal to close or not? Do you want to buy the house or sell the house or not? Then leave me alone and let me work. That's their mentality. And it's not conducive to good business, but it is what you see a lot. Do not ever be surprised I mean, you guys deal all the time with mortgage loan officers. How often do they correspond with you like they should if they're not your person? You know, if you're on the
I laughed out loud when I heard her say that. I was like, that's very common that they don't communicate well with the title company and and blame each other for everything too. Oh yeah, title didn't get me these numbers. Oh no, the lender didn't get me these numbers. Yeah. All day.
Well, this is my very first transaction on my own, and the mentor that I used before handled the title stuff. So I'm learning as I go. So yeah, okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? And congratulations on your closing, Lisa. I hope he corresponds with everyone today with a big wire.
Thank you. And does anybody know where I can get a sold sign? I looked all over the local area. Should have ordered one, I guess.
Amazon.com will have one to you tomorrow.
And I think the board has them.
No,
right?
I went. My board did not have today.
You can get gosh, I don't remember them all, but there's like 6 of them for sale pending, pool, 3 more. It's like there's like 2 of them that you'll never use for like $20 on Amazon. They'll have them to you tomorrow, the next day.
I ordered those recently from Amazon, and make sure it's the material that you want, because they came as like the corrugated cardboard, not metal like I was, I guess, expecting, because that's what my other ones were. It's not a big deal, but if you want to hang them, then it's a little bit different. So make sure they're the right material, or they have grommets. If they come with grommets already is good.
The $20 ones are not, they're going to be the corrugated plastic. You can punch a hole in them with a screwdriver and hang them with zip ties, and they look perfectly fine from a distance. If you've got to do it by tomorrow, I'd probably do that. They probably can sell you a metal one with grommets on there. If that's all you want as a sales sign and you don't mind spending a few bucks, then they probably sell you that for $20. I don't know. But I did recently get the corrugated plastic ones, the 6 of them for $21 or something like that, and got them the next day or the day after. And you can just, I drilled holes in them, but you can use a screwdriver and punch a hole in them, whatever you want to do. But it's easy, and make sure you line up the holes with the holes on the sign, etc. And there you go.
Thank you.
You bet. But you can do that today. Do it right now, and get them by tomorrow. Show off that you sold it.
Will do. Thanks.
You bet. And well, I think that's that was a short-term rental, if I remember right, Lisa.
Yes.
Okay, so going door to door with door hangers is not going to do you any good whatsoever. But you should look people up. What I would do in that case is look people up on all the properties, and you can just go next on the property appraiser site. And I would send them all a letter, find out where they really live, send them letters about how you sold this one for this much, and see if they're interested.
Great idea. Thank you. I will, Ryan. I appreciate that.
Those of you asking about out-of-town leads and stuff like that, you guys can do that on homes that we have sold. And I've told you guys this before. You don't even have to be the one who actually sold it, but you can say, we sold this one in this neighborhood. If anybody at FRI sold that one, then you can do it. We sold this one in this neighborhood. You can chase other people's other FRI agents as well. Any other questions or comments?
I'm hoping maybe some other agents, we could try to work together. I have an investor and they're looking for land in Lake County, preferably, the Claremont, Groveland, Mascot. I'm going to start looking at Mascot now because I haven't looked there, but they want to build duplexes and they have enough money to do 1031s, and they want to do like, 2 sets of duplexes, but there's no land to buy. So I need help finding land. And I was just wondering if there's a way we could maybe start another website saying, oh, my buyers are looking for this, and maybe another agent might have it.
You can do that on the FR agents page now.
Okay,
There's nothing wrong with that.
great. Thank you.
You bet. There's 340 or something of you guys on there, so it's pretty good coverage. Does this look like coffee if I keep blowing on it? This does? Good. All right. So you guys have a great day. Like going once, we're going to do going once, going twice, going 3 times here. On any other questions or comments? Going once, going twice.
So is that alcohol disguised as coffee? Is that what you're trying to do?
No, absolutely not. I would not try to say that. Any other questions before we go? All right. So next Tuesday, Tampa, the 4th, 10 to 12, just like we just did in Orlando. Just so you know, Lisa, you're asking, Mo just put a link to a sign company there. Before we go, next Tuesday, Tampa, 10 o'clock, 10 to 12, just like we just did in Orlando. It was great. Thank you all for coming out there and doing that. I think you're going to love your pictures. And that was it, I think. We'll see you next Wednesday, if I don't see you Tuesday in Tampa. And you guys have a great one. Bye, guys. Stay out of scams.